are? Great. So we've heard a little bit from you yesterday, and you're coming to us from Canada, from my hometown as it happens. I was very interested in the example that Mariga shared with me about ways in which they were using existing inner city infrastructure, including the existing buildings, to deliver and improve affordable housing and social housing in Toronto. And they've been doing it for how many years? Wood Green?
How many years has Wood Green been around?
Yeah.
Oh, 80 years.
80 years. So that's about building to last, right?
That's no kidding, yeah.
Exactly. And it struck me, I mean, all of our cities on this continent, they have buildings in them, and we're abandoning those buildings because they're starting to fall apart. So thinking about retrofit and refurbishment is an important part of the story. Over to you.
All right, thank you very much. Let me first test the presentation.
The presentation, please?
That's it, yeah. So, my name is Mariga. As I said yesterday, I've lived in Canada for most of my life, ironically. My topic today is going to focus on impacts on neighborhoods. I think from the last couple of days, I've sort of extended the neighborhoods to also sort of mimic how do you begin to just not do single building, but to begin to put footprint of what I'm going to talk about at neighborhood, at community, and I think the new word that Luca likes to keep throwing around is ecosystem level. So I'm going to deal with that, and then I'm also going to talk about some of the financial tools that we have created. And these tools are not 80 years old like the organization. They're just about 5 years old. So some of the invention, it's not like we're way ahead of everybody else. First thing I want to do as well is I've been extremely fortunate to be invited here, and I want to say thank you very much. I've had a very fortunate career as a leader in the housing landscape in Canada, and represented Canada in Europe, in Australia, in the United States, as one of its social housing leaders. And it's always been my thing that at some point I need to connect with the motherland. And so this is an amazing privilege, amazing group of people, and I've learned a lot from being here. I actually also want to give a shout out to Zanzibar for putting together this amazing event. And one of the things, I did a little bit of a tour, and of course I went downtown and I saw a very amazing generic, regeneration with all the boxes ticked. I think it was the old palace, or that's now going to become a museum. But I also went for the spice tour, what is called the spice tour. And I came out of that with saying to myself, this is the wrong narrative, right? In listening to the guides who are thorough, professional, knowledgeable, they reminded me that all these things that we now call spice, the nutmegs, the turmeric, the ginger, etc., are actually medication. They're not just for the dish. They are part of how you cure headaches, how you deal with digestion issues. And I committed myself to, when I go back, to have a cabinet that is got spices, and then also to start to introduce all these ingredients into my health and wellness cabinet, right? Because that's what they really are. And it kind of speaks to the narrative, how you create a narrative about something that gives this a whole meaning and a whole different purpose, which I think is what we're trying to do here today. So my presentation is going to focus on a problem that we all share. And again, I'm going to say, Luca has been very open-ended. It's a problem that Europe has, it's a problem that North America has, and it's a problem that Africa has. Yeah. I'm going to just, and I only have 20 minutes. I'm not going to go through all the slides. I'm just going to do the highlights. Like I said, they will be provided and you can read on all of them. So, like I said, Wood Green has been around for a bit. We've become, over the last 5 years, a very strong leader in the whole area of green, sustainability, building, and so on. And I share those awards that have been part of my love and labor over the last 5 years, because it's important that we lend a dream to some of our younger people that they can do this. And in North America, being a black person, this is extremely important as well. Affordability. We simplify the problem of affordability by just having a face to who we're trying to help. We're trying to help someone like Kelly, who has low income, has mental health issues, and through our housing and what we do, we make a difference in their lives. We look at the workforce, the housing, the people who work for us, and say, is their housing adequate for them to be productive workers? So very, very face-based sort of who we're trying to serve. At the end of my conversation, I'm going to provide a couple examples. One of the things I did 5 years ago when I started this whole concept of energy was to connect with a good friend of mine, an amazing innovator in Nairobi, and say, I challenge you to do the same thing, and I will do the same thing in Canada, and down the road we're going to share the results. So I actually want to make that the primary focus, in addition to what kind of actors need to be in play, what kind of challenges they are in creating a paradigm shift, and also some of the key enablers of an integrative ecosystem in order for us to get where we need to. Much more important now is us as non-state actors, because for whatever reasons, governments have, for the most part, become very political and have abrogated that territory of leadership. So we are not shy as non-state actors to be leaders in this whole change process. So, very quickly, as the VP for Asset Sustainability and Development, we have gone into this area because we want to do 4 things at the same time. There's no point in focusing on growth and development if your old stock is dying. And as I drive around many places in Europe and everywhere, that is a big problem. In Toronto, in Canada, we're losing 15 units for every 1 unit we're trying to build. So clearly, it's a much more important thing to deal with. The others are also part of our strategy. We do our own development. Our most exciting thing now in the context of our environment is the partnerships and joint ventures with private developers to build a combination of affordable housing and non-affordable, and create mixed income buildings in the neighborhoods so that you continue to have that vibrancy that we spoke about yesterday. So this is the problem. Everyone has this problem. Your asset portfolio, if it's over 30, 40 years old, the graph shows that your needs continue on the red, but your reserve and financial capability will continue to deteriorate. This is just Wood Green. We know if we do nothing by 2040, we don't really have a housing portfolio. So what do? We can go beg for money from government, but those days are over. So we started to think about what are the other financial tools. One of them is leveraging assets in a number of ways. So in order to do that, we did an exploration of what's out there in the whole area of green and sustainability. Obviously, we have to also, your modernization process is also about modernizing how you operate and changing the culture of how you manage your buildings. And so the first one that I'm featuring here today was the energy efficiency savings that we used. The assessment part you can see has an audit, an examination of the investment options, the installation, and the measurement and verification. Those are core elements. And in the measurement, it's upfront, using more than just building condition audits and using what they call ASHRAE, which give you specific outcomes or specifications about what you need to change about the behavior of your buildings specifically, and how much that translates to how much. You can take a look at that page and all the other pieces that need to be in the process. I'm going to skip this page and just go to this one and say, so how does the energy savings leverage work? The first bar is before, right? That is our total cost of energy. The whole idea is to transfer risk or to share risk with other partners, specifically two categories: the financiers and also the construction or engineering ecosystem players as well. So the second bar then says, after we've implemented and shared the risk, the savings continue, the total bill is about the same. The savings, so with the project implementation, what you see is the whole bar, but this time the top two levels, the light green and the other lighter green, are all the saving component. That is what we use to finance the project, including the fee of the engineering team and the loan for the retrofits. In this project, we're partners. We're joint venture partners. We don't give them money up front. And the measurement and verification is also a responsibility of the engineering team. So they're in this for the long run, because the amortization of the payment is going to depend on the accuracy and continued performance of the machinery that they put in the system. So again, you can go into a little bit of details. What is the actual? That's what it is. What is the structure of the deal? WCS is wood green. We take a loan, an energy efficiency loan, which is available at about 3%, less than 3%, which is what you get when you tick all the boxes, all right? And on the left-hand side is the financiers, EC, efficiency capital, and then the engineering. And the project also, because we're saying the payment will come out of, because they're saying to Wood Green, all the payments will come out of the savings, we've also included an insurance component. And that insurance component covers the performance of the building. It is not a price insurance, right? But it's counterintuitive. The higher the price goes, if you keep the performance of the machinery, the bigger the gap between your savings. So you actually get more savings when the price goes up, which is counterintuitive in some ways. So that is the nature, that is the basic structure of the deal. And then it's cemented with a legal agreement as usual, which is like about 40 pages long in exactly what happens when. This is the amortization of the financial investment structure. The green bar, the dark green bar is the EC capital. They will be paid out in 10 years. The loan will also be paid out in 15 years, and anything beyond that period will just be WCS accruing all the total benefits. They get out of the contract at about 15 years, and we remain with all the equipment and the benefits. If you take a look at that, the initial projection is that we were going to have a savings of 175K per year, and that was going to be enough to finance the $3.2 million that we put in for 11 buildings clustered. And that was also going to be enough to pay, because we also, instead of using our reserves to finance the whole 3 million, which is what we would need to fix the problem, we only took out $1 million of that. And even that, we are getting paid back as one of the, so the reserve bank, the reserve fund also now starts to get replenished by this whole mechanism. Otherwise, it would be just a straight up investment without any recovery, which is what you don't want to do anymore. And especially because you don't want to raise rents, so you keep the affordability. This is a range of machinery that we put in, super efficiency. When you have private partners, you'll be surprised how the supply chain problem becomes really, really small. And we installed all the $3 million equipment in 6 months. I had never seen anything like that, because they wanted to get the payment process going. This is the result after 2 years. I talked about the earlier projections. You can see that for year 1 and year 2, we have by far exceeded. The actual savings are over 200K. The projections are in the mid 150s and so on. So, and you can see the variance. So we're more than happy with what we did. It is more than paying off. We're actually paying back into a reserve more money than we anticipated to do. And so we're very happy about that. We've also, of course, the community impact is important because of the comfort and the sustainability. I won't go into details. Into the second one is to use refinancing. And for refinancing is extremely powerful as a tool, because you keep the building, its affordability, da-di-da-di-da, and then restore it. This one has the kind of income profile that is necessary for us to do a refinance and it's our big decarbonization project. So that's the one that's going to go into net zero. I'll let you chew through those graphs that talk about that calculus. I think what is more important is the capital stack. And again, because it's very early in the journey of decarbonization, you can see that CMHC, through its green fund, the SIGA, is contributing 38% of that in terms of a loan. And then we have another 42%. And the difference we have to figure out how to find, which is the bars at the lower end. So the commitment on Wood Green at this point in the decarbonization journey is relatively less. It's a very comprehensive building modernization process. In order for us to get to zero, we basically are going to have to eliminate gas as a source of energy because of its CO2 emissions to get to zero energy. I'm going to switch from the Canadian experience and just quickly go, excellent, yeah, and quickly go over, I talked about, when I started that process, I talked to my friend, Eric Mondia, and his company, Earthview, and I said, how can this concept work in Nairobi or in Kenya? And so he eventually landed in a town called Murang'a, primarily because they have a governor who is, I'm made to understand, is a very switched on person, gets this kind of thing, which speaks to you have to land with people who have a shared vision of where you need to go. But in a very quick way, the problem they were trying to solve is the high water loss in the delivery chain, primarily what is called non-revenue water loss. And most of it is, most water supply utilities or municipalities lose about 40% at best. And that includes Europe as well, between the point when they do the filtration and the time when it goes into the people's meters, into the meters. So how do you mitigate that? So you're using the same principles of the energy, of the efficiency in financing, right? Using the same principle, the contractor, which is Earthview, invested in the remedial solution. They rechanged all the piping between the filtration to the distribution centers and achieved a 30% reduction. That 30% is now what they're using to reimburse both the municipality as well as their own cost into putting that, with a long-term view as well. This particular project was fortunate because as a pilot, it was supported. The Belgians, SNV of Belgium quickly saw the opportunity and jumped in and threw in some of that financing. So the next level is, if you do not have a donor, how do you do the calculus and the business case in order to incorporate that. Based on the amount of money savings that it achieves, that will not be a problem as long as the interest rates are anywhere at 5 to 6%. So, and so now the next phase of this one is about scaling. And then the second one is also how to solve the problem from the distribution to the meter in order to be able to have accurate reading and eliminate all the administrative causes. The whole system is all metered and has smart technology so that, and this is where the municipalities are going to clue in very quickly, that over time EarthView holds all the data about the inputs and outputs of water consumption, which is going to be extremely informative at an ecosystem level. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much. And again, it's a 24-page PowerPoint. I think it'll all be attached to the conference documents, and you can make your day with it if you want. Thank you so much.
Maureen, do you want to take one question?
100%, yeah. I've learned this 100% thing. It's a millennial thing. Nothing is less than 100%. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was very interesting. In fact, I was hoping that this was more of a master class, than an actual presentation. If you could just do me a favor, please, and go back to the slide where you were referring to the deal structure. There was a lot of abbreviations that were utilized there, and obviously once we're looking at the presentations that we'll receive after this, one would like to be able to make sure that you follow, because I think that was really a key slide that's going to help us understand the rest of the presentation a little bit more. Thank you so much. If you could just explain this slide a little bit more.
Okay, so WCS.
And the abbreviations, thank you.
So WS is the problem, right? With the asset, you're the housing, you're trying to redo this portfolio piece. So that's that. You need a loan. You need a loan in order to implement the whole project. So you go out and you get an energy efficiency loan. In this case, it's called the Toronto Atmospheric Fund. And you get, but you also contribute $1 million. So it's split three ways. The loan, the WCS, we actually take money from our reserve and loan the project in order to pay back. EC is the one that's looking after the project and its financial structure. So they also put in. So basically, two bankers, EE loan and EC, put in money into the project, right? In order for the project to succeed, we need to attach the engineering and the construction and everything to an entity, a company that is only going to get paid on the success of the project incrementally on a month-by-month basis. So we give them two tasks. One is to do the procurement and installation, and two, we give them the task of creating the real-time measurement system. And the real-time measurement system is real because even as I stand here, if any of that equipment is faltering or going below 100%, you get a text message to say, get your maintenance people to go and fix that because it's less than optimum, because everybody is feeding from that. So that's essentially what it is. The insurance was for us saying, we're coming into this whole thing with you guys. How do we know? How do we protect ourselves against any of those errors, particularly if in fact you don't meet the objectives that you've said we need to meet? And so we have an insurance policy that gives us about 10%, any underperformance by about 10%, we get reimbursed. Any overperformance, we split the gains, which is what actually we're doing now. Is that helpful? Yeah.
I think a masterclass would be a good thing, and now we know how to use Zoom. So would you be open for that? A bit of a masterclass just as a webinar at some point.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I'll be very open to do that. And
Great.
what I will do is also make available the whole business case, which has all the financials in more details, the projections, maybe not the legal agreement, but its primary components. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Super. Thank you so much, Mariga.
You're welcome.
Really great.